Yeah, no, I'm excited for it, honestly, to share my thoughts. This is the first person I've shared a lot of my thoughts on this. I've been in the film room for quite some time, so I'm excited to share a lot of my thoughts on some of at least the top five, top six guys from each position.
Did you like it though? Did you
Yeah.
Let's get into your position that you
Oh, all
I
right.
found out you got a love for the tight ends. Who's
Oh,
your
yeah.
top five tight ends?
All right, so tight end. We're starting with number five. Number five, Jeremy Ruckert out of Ohio State. The definition behind this guy is probably good at a lot of things, but not great at any one thing. And I honestly think he will be confined to more of a blocking tight end role more than anything, just because of his frame, his size, and his experience at OSU, being mainly a primary blocker, being an extension of that O line for Travion Henderson, and but I do like him as an all-around guy. I think he's a little bit more of the poor man's Pat Fryermuth. I think he has a lot. Again, he's good at a lot of things, not great at any one thing. And he dominates the middle. He's very much of a middle area receiver. Not exactly fast, so he's not going to push downfield, not going to push the top off of coverages or anything like that. And I do like his release. He's got a smooth release for a big guy. He's not clumsy. A lot of bigger guys are a little bit top heavy, a little bit clumsy, don't shed defenders very well off the line, because that's the number one thing tight ends have to deal with is a shove off the line. I think he deals with that extremely well. I would like to see him work on his route running ability, though. His breaks are sloppy and a little bit predictable. Strong safeties, free safeties can jump on his routes pretty easily, just because he's not that great and efficient at dropping his hips and making cuts. But he's a solid every down tight end who won't give away your play call. He can catch passes.
Heard of something because he didn't do nothing at a pro day.
Yeah, I don't think he performed at the pro day. I didn't follow up on his pro day.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't think he performed at his pro day. But
I liked his numbers coming, like he got verified numbers, I guess, going to college, and I liked his numbers. Like just those numbers was fine to me.
Yeah. So no, I think there is good athleticism there, and then on film too, I see an athlete. I don't see like a big dumpy unathletic guy. Don't get me wrong, but he's not what we expect out of today's tight ends, though. Tight ends are getting better at running routes. They're becoming better receivers. I mean, shoot, you got guys like Kyle Pitts are the new standard. You know what I mean? The guy who just kind of releases and just uses his body to get open is not as much of the thing anymore. You know what I mean? We're talking about guys who are actual like route running technicians at the tight end position now, and I just don't think he's one of them for sure. So as far as the upside, I mean, at the tight end position, for us to get fantasy points, you need to catch passes, bottom line. And I don't know if this will primarily be Jeremy Ruckert's number one goal and number one area of use when he gets drafted, whatever team he gets drafted by. But
he's not even in my top five.
Okay.
He's like he's an honorable mention. Like he's in the same tier as I have a tier of one. Then I have like
same.
10 in the same tier, and he's a part of that tier. So
okay, all right. Well, I have mine a little differently. My second tier is only two guys, so we'll get to that. But I am in the middle of my third tier, so my third tier is kind of like your second tier.
And who knows? I might make another tier because after I got some guys that I had high, after I got their 40 numbers, I can't even put them in my top five. It's like, I can't do it. I don't feel comfortable.
I'll be honest with you. One guy dropped out of my top five. Jalen Wiedemeyer. Yeah, Jalen Wiedemeyer dropped out of my top five just because he bombed his pro day and the combine. He just did not perform. I
saw my draft with the Cowboys drafting, and I'm like, I'd probably be interested if the Cowboys draft him, but
but even still, the thing with Jalen Wiedemeyer is I'm hearing things that, like what I heard about Seth Williams last year, where he's doesn't give extra effort, doesn't follow up on plays, doesn't block very well, doesn't give effort on blocking, doesn't like it when he doesn't get the ball, is a complacent player, has an attitude, that sort of stuff. So after hearing that and seeing his athletic score being as terrible as it was, I was like, all right, I'm out. This tight end class is so jumbled as it is that I can't commit to one guy like
the
that.
youngest
Anyways,
tight end in the draft.
yeah,
Early declared though, it's like,
yeah. But maybe that's my thing is maybe he should stay. Like being an early declarer is great, but some of these guys make hasty decisions where they shouldn't be doing it because. That's the thing is like a lot of these issues that I was just bringing up about like not following through on blocks and different things. Those are attitude things that can be coached up and coached out and you can grow out of as a person, not just like, as a player, but as a person, just like not being selfish as much. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to call Jalen Wiedemeyer a selfish person. I don't know the guy, but that's what I'm hearing from teammates and people who know him and people who play with him is that he doesn't necessarily give full effort all the time. And I want a guy who's going to give me everything he's got every single play just because you want to be able to rely on and not be able to predict, but know that you're going to get 100% effort every single play. I mean, and at the NFL professional football level, that shouldn't be a huge ask. I mean, you know what I mean? Like with how much they're getting paid and everything they're doing, 100% effort should not even be a question, So, when I start to see guys who lack like that on film, they drop for me. Like Dalton and those guys I was doing the draft guide with last year were all about Seth Williams just because they don't really pay attention to film. They don't like that stuff. They love the metrics, his size, his ability, everything, But then I saw him on film giving up on blocks or plays away when he just ignored defenders and just stand there with hands on hips and stuff like that. And that's not what they want at that next level. At the NFL level, they need all 11 guys trying to score a touchdown. They need all 11 guys trying to stop a touchdown.
Did he get drafted?
Who's this?
Seth Williams.
Yeah. So he ended up getting drafted super late last year by the sixth round. Yeah. And then he's like on their practice squad, caught one pass this past year.
Oh, I remember. And me and you was having it out because I wrote in there, can he separate?
Exactly. That was another one of those guys.
That's what I wrote in there.
Separation
all
thing.
Close to defender catches. That's what I had. Can he separate?
Yeah. And that's the thing. And he was one of those big body guys who used like box out ability to separate. And I thought he had a lot of good like plays on film and different things where he made Bo Nix, a rough quarterback, look really good. But then there were, the other half of the plays where he wasn't getting the ball and play was away and, he's not doing anything, hands on hips, not blocking, different things. And, when NFL scouts see that, you're going to fall down boards quick because effort is a huge thing to them. So, my whole thing is just that. And like with Jalen Wiedemeyer, he'd be in this top 5 that we're talking about. But if that's one of those things I hear, then that's a red flag for me.
If he would have ran a better 40, he could have been in my top 5.
Well, I was expecting like 4.6 kind of numbers. Yeah, I was expecting 4.6 type numbers from this guy, and he didn't even break 5 flat. He came up with 5.04 is what I think I remember him running, and that's
5.03.
5.03. Yeah. See,
and I don't know if I added the 0.05 to that or what, because that's what I usually do if someone didn't do
with
it
the hand
combine.
Yeah, or with the hand times.
0.05.
Yeah, I do the same. Yeah, so. Yeah, no, at the end of the day, he hurt himself. A guy who was relying on athletic score and athletic ability, it went the exact opposite way for him. So, yeah, I mean, he'd be in this top 5 for sure, Jalen Wiedemeyer, and he originally was when I initially did my film grade on him. But after going through pro days and combine and everything, it's just all been downhill for him. And the tight end position is just such a grab bag, honestly, that – it's if you don't have a strong case or your case is literally getting destroyed, then you gotta get on. I can't, especially with the cost. People are still investing 3rd round picks in Jalen Wiedemeyer, even after all that. His ADP is still around the 3rd round. So I'm just that's not worth it. There's so many of these tight ends that you can grab with your last pick that are a better investment or a better or the same kind of opportunity. So and then at number 4. I got Charlie Kolar out of Iowa State. Another one of these. That's your number 3? Okay. Yeah, I got number 4. And this is that tier break for me because there's a tier break up to the next tight end for me before him. But he's number 1 of these guys like Jeremy Ruckert, who is good at everything, not great at any one particular thing. But I think he's better than Jeremy, better than Jeremy at most of those things. I think he's just one step above. And he's also a much more pass centric. I think he caught a lot more. I know he caught a lot more passes, was involved in the passing game a lot more. His target percentage was a lot higher. And so his involvement in the passing game and being utilized more regularly in the passing game gives me more promise for the next level. But I do think he has similar style. He's a big body guy, dominates the middle, kind of more like a Rob or Travis Kelce type tight end. Not a lot of wiggle, not a lot of movement, but great over the middle receiver. Goes up on safeties extremely well. Can high point the ball, catches with his hands, nothing else. Does not use his body. A lot of tight ends these days struggle with that. And he's got strong hands, definitely strong hands. He time and time again, he was getting harassed over the middle and would bring in catches with guys draped all over him, which is exactly what you want from a tight end like that, who's going to deal with that over the middle all the time. So, I'm pretty big on Charlie Kolar, actually, just because nobody seems to know who he is and nobody seems to be paying attention to him. And he's some drafts I'll do 3-round rookie drafts and he won't even get drafted. So if I'll just
these mock drafts are real drafts.
a lot of these are the ADP that I'm pulling off of what's it called?
Nobody's not gonna know anything about him right now.
Yeah. So no, I mean a lot of it's just like doing mock drafts with other people like you and I, like who are do this stuff every day. So once ADP gets affected by general public, you might get more of a discount or more of actual value out of these guys. So because we're not really doing rookie drafts yet, real ADP is not something you can go on. But I do like to get a feel for it because my strategy is get as much value out of everything as you can. Even if you like a guy, if common consensus likes him more than you and you have to move up to go get him, then I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to waste the capital. I'm not going to waste it. I'm trying to build as much value in my dynasty team as much as I can. Get as much value.
I'm willing to move up if I can get in front of a tier break.
That's the one time I'm trying to move up. That's my exception. I agree with that big time. Is if I'm trying to move in front of a huge tier break. But otherwise, like I was saying, like we were talking about Malik Willis as opposed to Desmond Ridder. I mean, at the end of the day, both raw talent kind of players, dual threat guys who need to be developed. Well, if that's the story, if the story is the same for both of them, well, then at the end of the day, just take the cheaper guy. You know what I mean? Take the 202 Desmond Ridder rather than the 102 Malik Willis. I mean, no brainer. And that way you can
own any of Malik Willis stocks because I'm not trading up for it, and I don't have any 101, 102s. I might have a 103, and I don't think he's gonna fall there. So
no, I agree. And at the end of the day, I think a wide receiver preserves the most value over time, anyways. But that's another conversation we can have. But yeah, and so Charlie Kolar is at number 4 for me, and then I do have a tier break up to tier 2 for me now because that was my tier 3 tight ends, some of them. And at number 3, I have Isaiah Likely out of Coastal Carolina.
He was my number 2, bro. I dropped him.
Oh, you did? Why'd you drop him?
I said if I had to pick 5, he ain't gonna be a part of it.
So how did he go from being number 2 though to not even being
when you run a 4.85? That's how you go from being number 2 to out of my top 5. That's how you go.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Like, yeah, I did see that come out, and at the end of the day, as long as you break 4.9 for me at the tight end position, I'll be, I mean, I know that's not,
I need 4.76.
And to be honest, I feel that 4.75 or better is probably what I should change my threshold to, and it's something I've thought about honestly. But at the end of the day, it's funny because these 40 times we're using and seeing this year are so weird compared to a lot of the times from the past. Like all these running backs had crazy times and were super fast, and none of these running backs seem like that kind of fast or that kind of speed coming into the draft. So it was like, were these guys given breaks or were they clocked the right way or who was timing them? And then you come to find out a new guy was doing hand times at the NFL this year. And so it's hard with 40 times because you try and use them to confirm things, but then you also try and push them aside a little bit to not like when a guy that you really like scores poorly in the 40, you're like, oh, well, that's just a poor 40 time. The guy doing the hand time was bad, this and that. So it's hard, but like anything above 5 flat, you can't get that wrong. Like obviously you're running slow. So anything above 4.8, it's probably the same thing. You're probably just running slow. So I can see your point with Isaiah Likely here. I don't know that I would have knocked him that much, and I didn't knock him that much. He was at 2 for me, and I moved him down to 3. Not so much because of his performance at his pro day, but more so because of somebody else's performance at their pro day. But my biggest thing with Isaiah Likely here is probably the most natural receiver at the tight end position out of this group, with the exception of maybe Trey McBride. They're probably right there next to each other as far as route running ability, route tree diversity, release off the line, both from the tight end position in the hand in the ground and the slot position with standing up. And then also basic ball skills, coming back to the ball, using your hands to catch the ball, not your body, all those sorts of things. Isaiah Likely he's a wide receiver playing tight end. He's a large wide receiver playing tight end rather than a tight end trying to catch the football. And again, like I said earlier, what we want out of our tight ends, and the only way we can score points is catching the football. So him having that kind of profile that gears towards specifically catching the football, that's what kind of moves him for me up above guys like Charlie Kolar and Jeremy Ruckert into that next tier. Just because, again, I think the way he's going to be used, what he's going to be drafted for, the purpose behind drafting him will be, in my opinion, to catch the football. I don't know that he's going to be, and I don't think he's going to be used primarily for blocking. I think that'll be about 20 or 30% of his workload, whereas 70 to 80% will be running routes, going out, and playing the percentage move. Very comparable to a guy like Brevin Jordan from last year, in my opinion.
He's one of these players that's going to have to show me before I ever invest in him, because I was high on him. He was on my top tier with McBride, but
oh really?
He was there with McBride because I just was like, oh, I really like this guy, and I even had that he was fast in my notes. But now after seeing this, I was like, well, maybe that's because he was playing questionable competition anyway.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina's not playing. Yeah, they're not playing top tier or anything. Shit. But do you think maybe he had game speed? I mean, prime example is Larry Fitz's 40 time was whatever, but in game you see him running by people. Do you at all see that with Isaiah Likely? Did you
I don't know,
think
because
maybe
he was
that
playing a
the
lower
40?
level. I could say that. I could say that to somebody like Trey Burks, but how am I gonna give this guy the benefit of the doubt when he playing questionable competition?
Yeah, he's running by guys, but he's running by guys who are running 5 flats or 4
Yeah,
nines.
people that's gonna be mailmen.
Oh, that's funny. We were running the mail, huh? Anyways, so I got Isaiah Likely there mainly because of pass catching upside and what he profiles as an actual receiving tight end. And then at number two,
we gotta have the same guy. Come on.
At 2, we got Jelani Woods. Is that who you got? Who you got, bro?
I knew you was gonna have him up there somewhere. I got Jelani. He's my number 5. He's
number 5 for you. Who's number 2 for you?
My number 2 is Greg Dolchich.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's number 7 for me, actually. Great. Is it Greg Doucette or is it
Dolchich, I think.
Oh, Dolchich? Yeah. No, I actually have him at number 7. I like his game. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I just saw a lot more.
Woods is the Malik Willis of tight ends.
Exactly.
Hard feeling for this guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's just this guy who came out of kind of nowhere, and not nowhere in my opinion. University of Virginia. I mean, it's still ACC ball. That's good stuff. And at the end of the day, he's just a monster. I feel like everybody passed up. I mean, not only is his athletic score off the charts, but he's a monster. I mean, shoot, I had him up here. Hold on.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't see it on film like that though.
Yeah, that's the
it's
one
not
thing
like he
that
was
can.
killing it on film.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Honestly, it seemed like he still has a lot to learn as far as like ball skills and being a receiver in general. But as far as raw athletic ability, this is the most athletically
Tight end
gifted.
ever.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Ever.
arguably people are trying to say that, but I don't,
Ever.
I don't know about if I want to say that. I
I
first of all,
mean,
I don't know
for
that
his
I ever.
size. For his size.
Yeah, and that's the
I
thing
mean,
too.
the most athletic, if you just talking about raw numbers, it was on a boy with the 49ers.
Vernon.
Vernon, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vernon
But
Davis.
for this
Yeah.
guy's size, he's the most athletic tight end ever.
Well, that's the thing is, and that was the argument that actually came up. I saw an argument come up on Twitter the other day was who is more athletic, Jelani Woods or Vernon Davis, because they were showing people's their relative athletic scores right next to each other. Kent LaPlatte's work where he comes out with the raw athletic score or relative athletic scores. And they were nearly identical. And Jelani Woods was actually a little bit better because of the size that he had, because of the height and the athleticism he had at that height and size.
Ridiculous, man.
And and I really was just surprised by everything. 6'7" guy. I finally pulled it up here. As he's a 6'7" guy, 259 pounds.
Ran a 4.61.
Yeah, a 4.61.
37.5 vertical.
Right.
Hit a three cone of 6.71.
Exactly.
6.71 three cone.
The 3-cone is what got me off my chair, man. I'll tell you what. That as far as the 3-cone, because what that implies, if nobody's familiar, I know you are, but if somebody's not familiar with it, a 3-cone implies change of direction. Now, if your three-cone is that insane, and you're that big, and you play the tight end position, oh shoot, you know what I'm saying? Like that implies route running and change of direction capabilities that 90% of the wide receivers in the league don't have. You know what I mean? So it'd be interesting this is ideally an athletic masterpiece we have here, or a huge athletic piece of clay that we have here, and we're gonna see what organization he goes to and how they mold it.
You know our luck. He's going to be drafted by the organization we don't want to see him back.
Yeah.
The Jets. Woods.
The cynic over here.
Look, we're not going to see him in 5 years.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is, again, landing spot is everything. So if there's an opening, I'd like to see him go someplace where they can totally take advantage of all this athleticism that they have here and not just squander it. But again, if I'm taking a shot on anybody, I like Woods at his current price. I think he's going late. People are starting to notice him because of everything he came out and did at his pro day, but I still think people aren't noticing him to the degree that he should. I still think he's one of the best values in drafts. I haven't seen him even enter the second round, and I would take him at the end of the second round. And honestly, I would probably take him at cost. I would take him instead of Trey McBride, just because Trey is moving up, man. People got this itch for there to be.
I knew that was gonna happen. People wasn't giving Trey McBride no kind of respect. I didn't see him number one on a lot of people's board, and as soon as he hit the pro day, now what? Not a respect come.
Well, yeah, that 40 time definitely got a lot of people's attention. Him running that, I think it was like a 4.56 or something like that he came out and blazed with, or something like that. That was wild. So. I think he definitely was working and put a lot of people on notice with his pro day at CSU. But Trey is definitely the most polished out of everybody. Definitely the most polished all around every down tight end. I was talking about Jeremy Ruckert being like good, not great at any one thing. Well, Trey is pretty good at every one thing, and then he's also great at running routes. So he's a true route runner. We talked about Isaiah Likely being more geared towards that area of the field, running routes, not being a blocker, so he won't be held back. Again, I think Trey is going to fit that profile too, and then also be able to stay in and block. I think he definitely profiles as a very good blocker, very technical. Not the most dominating or aggressive guy, like a George Kittle, but he's definitely positionally smart, gets his hips in the right place, knows what he's doing, and he does his job as a blocker. And then as a wide receiver, his release is on point, both on the in line of scrimmage with his hand in the ground and up in 2-point. His short area quickness is really good. I really like a lot of the technicality he has with a lot of his short area routes. Running option routes, tight end option routes are a big thing at the next level, and he was even running them already at that level, which was really surprising to me. Having the freedom to do that. Not a lot of tight ends are given that extra leverage or that ability by their coach to make decisions like that. And he was so smart that, you could see option routes being performed the right way by this guy already. And that's advanced level stuff. So that was crazy to see. And yeah, no, as a wide receiver, I think he's one of the smartest guys, best feel for space, and one of the most diverse route trees for sure out of the entire tight end group. So, I hate to spoil it and we get ahead of ourselves, but at number one, yeah, I have Trey McBride. I kind of do that backwards there, but yeah, number one, Trey McBride. So, yeah, and that's why I just think at the end of the day, in a tier by himself, and I just think he'll definitely be worth a second round pick, but I don't know how early in a second round. Again, I don't know that I'd be taking him as early as 202 that I've seen him go, 204, there's still wide receivers and running backs and even like some of those Desmond Ritters that are falling down in that early second that I would prefer over than a project tight end that I'm not sure about, because again, this tight end class is very similar to this quarterback class in the fact that if it were mixed in with last year's tight end class, I don't know how high up Trey would be comparatively to like a Pat Freiermuth definitely wouldn't be there with Kyle Pitts, So I think he would be mixed in with right above Brevin Jordan.
I'm like him more than Freiermuth.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I like him a little bit better as a receiver than Freiermuth, but after the catch, I like Freiermuth better. Before the catch, I like Freiermuth a little bit better. And then blocking, I just liked him a little bit better. And as far as aggression and red zone usage too. But yeah, no, Trey's there for me.
Well, I'm just talking about as a prospect because you can look back now and see what he do, and
No, I meant as a prospect for as far as Freiermuth in college. But yeah, no, I think McBride is definitely the one with a future here out of all this. Jelani would be the one with the athletic, ability that you'd bank on. But as far as other than Trey McBride, the rest of this tight end class is kind of a grab bag a little bit. It's just kind of mixed together to a degree. So sorting it out is kind of all up to your own opinion, obviously. I prefer upside and athletic ability. But Trey does have everything. He's more of the most complete package out of anybody out of this tight end class. And I don't think it's even close. I think he is definitely in a tier by himself for sure. Now the discussion is where is it worth it to take him? Some mid-second would be my answer to that question. Mid-second to late second for sure. But like I was saying, I would prefer to go after Jelani later in the draft and go after second round running backs because I think there's a good crop of second round running backs that are going to fall in the second round that you can definitely jump all over, like a Zamir White or James Cook, these kind of guys that'll definitely get more bang for your buck and get more value. And if you're really hot on a Trey McBride, once a Zamir White or one of those guys falls into a role and reaches like peak value, go trade him for Trey McBride plus or whatever. You know what I mean? There's ways to get the guys that you want by avoiding having to pay the cost at the actual draft itself. If the cost at the rookie draft is outrageous, you know what I mean?
If I'm not sure on a guy, I don't worry because I always get in new dynasty leagues, so that's why there's no pressure on me. I know that if I really like this guy and want him, I'll get him in the next dynasty leagues I get in the next year. I don't put pressure on myself to try to get someone in a draft, anything like that. Yeah. So my number 5 was Jelani Woods. Like I said, he didn't really stick out on tape like that, but he just an athletic freak, stood out Shrine Bowl week, and has great potential. Number 4 was Grant. I don't even know how to pronounce this dude's name. Ketterer. I don't know. Out of SMU. So, he's my number 4.
Okay.
Good receiving skills. He have a serious concussion history. Like I think he had stopped playing for a year and then came back. My number 3 Charlie Kolar. My number 2, Greg Dosich, stood out during Senior Bowl week. Gets yak, he's fast, and then and all of those guys are in the same tier. Like I probably could cut off a tier, but like I said, I just got to figure out where where I'm gonna put Likely, because like I said, Likely was my number 2. I dropped him out that tier, then I was like, nah, I'm gonna drop him farther. So I just got to
Yeah,
figure out
yeah,
where I'm put him. Then McBride sits in a tier by himself. On the highest PFF grade, highest receiving grade for a tight end, stood out Senior Bowl week, and he get yak. So yeah, I like him.
yeah, definitely.
So was there any guys outside of your top 5 that could be a sleeper?
Well, I did like Greg Dulcich out of UCLA. That was one that I liked. There wasn't anything too crazy that jumped off the board for me. Cade Otton out of Washington was a solid prospect. I'm not sure if he ended up staying at Washington or if he did commit. But this tight end class is not as strong as it has been in the past. So to be honest with you, the top 5, top 6 guys are kind of all I'm really working with. And if anything after that, I'm not ignoring them, but at the same time, is barring anything crazy like crazy draft capital getting invested in somebody random or anything like that, I just don't want to invest too much time in the rest of the class just because I just don't think it's as strong of a class as past ones have been.
A
So
lot of them I didn't do. I did a
yeah,
nice amount of it, but there's a lot of them. But I'm
yeah.
like, ugh,
I did about 60. I want to say 60 to 70% of them, and then there's just like a handful of these guys where they're such small schools, and I would get into their film a little bit, and I'd just be like, I don't know if this guy's even going to make it. Even going to get drafted. So,
Now
yeah, I
for
mean, tight
me,
end position is a little weaker than I thought in past years. So,
I had 2. I had Jeremy Ruckert,
okay.
your guy, and I had this guy that I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Okunkwa, Okunkwo, out of Maryland.
Oh yeah,
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 yeah. Sorry, you if you run the fastest 40 out of tight ends, you caught my eye, buddy.
yeah. You're
You're
on
on
the
my
ground.
radar.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, actually, and playing at Maryland, I mean, that's decent ball. It's not like he's playing against nobody. You know what I mean? And so yeah, no, I need to look into him a little bit more. But I have heard the name, and yeah, that's the thing with this tight end group is one of them, one or two could slip through the cracks and end up being irrelevant, and that's all it takes is just a little bit of draft capital or the right situation or the right person getting hurt or something like that. So the only person I'd be going after, keeping in my head, there's just a couple of them: Isaiah Likely, Jelani Woods, and um, Trey McBride. Other than that, figure out other tight ends from other years or do different things at the tight end position. You know what I mean? Even if I really want to go after a young tight end, maybe go and hunt the Brevin Jordan owner down and go work something
And I
out.
don't
But
think a lot of people are high on Brevin Jordan. I saw him produce last year.
exactly,
I
especially in the
like
red
him,
zone
and he
too.
produced. So
Yeah, in the red zone too. Not just random small catches here and there, but scoring touchdowns was actually part of his game last year. So a young tight end who scores touchdowns, I mean, shoot, I'll stash that away. Rather, if somebody wants to, trade me him for a late third because they're hot on Charlie
but that's
Kolar
the
and they
real
want to go
question. How
after
much
that
would he cost? I think you would have to give him a second. I was out.
for
I was
Brevin.
trying to fish. I was trying to fish on and get Logan Thomas and Irv Smith for thirds in all my leagues, and nobody bit.
Well, I don't think you
So
get that for Irv anymore just because of Tyler Conklin leaving Minnesota. I think a lot is
yeah, I
going to
was
be
either one of them. I
expected.
just wanted a cheap
Yeah,
tight end, and in my mind, I don't think nobody giving Brevin Jordan if they remember what he did, that he had some production, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, so I no, and that's the thing is again, Brevin Jordan profiles like Isaiah Likely. He came out as a pass catching tight end, not as a blocking tight end. So those pass catching tight ends, they have that edge because they're already profiled as that, and they're not intended to be used as blockers. They're just an extra wide receiver on the field. So yeah, those are the kind of guys that I'd be willing to pursue. Everybody else, I just hang back and let other people trade in. If they're trying to be hot for Charlie Kolar, then or Jeremy Ruckert or what have you, then cool. You know what I mean? I just think those types of tight ends are dime by the dozen, and they come into the league every year and displace each other all the time.
I don't draft tight ends in rookie drafts.
Yeah, honestly, I really don't, unless
patience.
we're talking about Kyle Pitts
I don't
or
have patience.
yeah. Instantaneous return is a real thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can argue what I just said. Like, if you really start to get real results out of like a Dalton Schultz who's starting to come onto the scene or that sort of thing, you can trade for that person at really not that much of a cost, even still. You know what I mean? The only person who's untradeable for it right now is like a guy like Kyle Pitts, and that's like a unicorn that only comes
And I tried to trade him, and I guess the dude felt like I was asking for too much.
What did you?
Like, bro, are you serious? Like,
what was the offer?
I don't remember now. I know at the time it was before the MFL flipped over. It might have been a 1-on-1. I wanted the 1-on-1 and something else, 23 first. I think that was it.
That's not that much for him these days.
He tried to hit me with a counter.
Yeah, a lot of people would.
Yeah,
right. A lot of people would jump all over that right now.
I'm like, are you crazy?
If all it cost me to get Kyle Pitts was the 2023 first and the 101 this year, I'd jump all over it, honestly, because there is nobody in this class at the 101 or later that is going to be equivalent to the value that Kyle Pitts brings. You know what I mean? Even if Breece Hall turns into whatever he's supposed to be, I still don't think he'll retain the same value. I mean, running backs are flashes in the pans, 2 or 3 years at most, and then their value dwindles. You know what I mean? So
people in Dynasty so cheap, man. I swear, and they greedy too. It's like you send them a good deal, and it's never good enough. Like, what can I get more?
Yeah. Well, I think that is a good way to go. Is you always want to see if you can get a little bit more. Initial offer is not what you should never accept an initial offer. And if anybody ever accepts your initial. If somebody
ever good enough for me, you think I'm not gonna give you a chance to think about it.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know what? Click. And then guess what? You gonna feel something deep down in your soul. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, I should have asked for more or something.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I mean.
I should have asked for more. Yeah. Maybe you should have. Maybe.
No, I agree with that. But all right. But yeah, that rounds out the tight ends for me though, with Trey McBride up top.